Hey, team players, and welcome to another episode here of Bob and I breaking down the fantasy football takes here. And this is from ESPN's list as of June 3rd, going through their players 41 through 50 for a PPR league. And Bob, as we look at the names here on the screen, there's two of them I'm excited about, and then a lot of question marks in my world. The two that I'm excited about are obviously Debo. I think it's hard not to be excited about Debo.
Mm-hmm.
And J.K. Dobbins tore it up when he got healthy in December.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the possibility of Dobbins in a very similar story of what we said about Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm.
I like that very similarly. We look at the other elements here. Pitts, I think, is possibly the most athletic person on the board sitting here today. But looking at Tennessee's history, they never really used a tight end. When they just handed them, I'm basically figuring Atlanta is going to be what the original Henry Titans were. We're going to try to not lose the game through the air. We're going to run it hard, and we're going to let our defense do stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do I really want to take Pitts or London, especially knowing Pitts' injury history? I get that he's an athletic freak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Cooper. He's obviously the number one receiver in Cleveland, although they did add another weapon there. And there's rumors that Hopkins wants to go to Cleveland, reunite with Watson. So do I want to have the two of them cannibalize each other? Waller, I guess, by default, is the Giants' best receiver, I guess.
But at this point.
But he's hurt a lot. He's injured, and who knows what's going to happen there. Chris Godwin doesn't have a quarterback. And, Pittman has potential of being a good possession receiver. He does.
So
he's not a burner.
I'm going to stop you for a minute. When we take a look at 41 through 50, we're still in the rounds where you're probably thinking, should I take a quarterback? Should I take the top player in this list? And I feel like at this point in time, particularly what could be on the board, what you could be seeing on the board, this is a perfect landing spot for Patrick Mahomes. This is a perfect landing spot for Allen. This is a perfect landing spot for Jalen Hurts, because a lot of these players are big names, but there's a lot of question marks with their situations. Deebo Samuel is not the player you think he is on this list. Deebo Samuel,
I'm saying it's not a good list.
Well, yeah. But Deebo Samuel, when taking away his rushing potential, he devolved into the 28th best wide receiver.
What was he once McCaffrey got there?
Not good at all. I mean, you look at his
fair enough.
You look at where he landed in total points at the end of the year. He landed at 34 out of the wide receivers, with Drake London being 38, Juju being 37, and our boy Old Man Thielen being 36.
So it sounds like you talked me down into Hurts or Dobbins, man.
So as I look at this list, there are, I don't feel like Hawkinson will be taken yet, so you don't need to worry about taking Waller. I don't feel like Andrews would have been taken yet.
Andrews might have been for someone to take that second tight end.
So I feel like if you like Waller, you're probably going to be able to get Waller in the 6th round. I don't think anybody's going to be jumping at the bit to get him this year. Supremely talented, but oft injured. So doesn't help going to the Giants, who have those conditioning concerns as well. So, I mean, I'm not dogging him. I think he's a very talented player, but you may be only getting 3-4 games out of him. If he plays a full season like Keenan Allen does, you could potentially be getting the steal of your draft in this round. The guy I actually like out of this list, notwithstanding DeAndre Hopkins, is Terry McLaurin.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard. He's a great football player.
So Terry McLaurin is definitely an interesting pick. Him and Pittman are both going to be volume wide receivers.
But he's the fastest volume receiver in the NFL.
But I feel like his quarterback situation is more of a known. We know what Jacoby Brissett could do with Amari Cooper. We know what Jacoby Brissett did with Donovan Peoples-Jones. We're
playing Sam Howell, though.
I get it. But Sam Howell, in the couple of games last year that he was in, proved that he could throw the ball.
Yeah.
If they have to go back from Sam Howell to Jacoby Brissett, and the reason I bring him up is that situation is much clearer than the situation that Michael Pittman has in Indy. Is we don't know what Richardson is going to provide for you. He could turn out to be great, and Pittman's going to turn out to be really good. But I think where Pittman's value is, and it's a perfect spot for him right here, is that he's going to be a great volume wide receiver 3. You're probably you
don't want him to be your 1 or 2.
You don't want him to be your 1 and 2.
You don't really want anyone in this league to be your 1 or 2.
But if he does end up being your 1 or 2, you probably have a great. You have
a great running room.
You either have 2 prolific running backs, a phenomenal quarterback, and a great tight end, or you have 3 great running backs and then a great tight end or a great quarterback. So if he has to be your number 1, if Debo had to be my number 1, I'm more scared of Debo being my number 1 than Pittman or Terry McLaurin being my number 1.
I get
just
that.
Because the volume of the Niners started to turn a little bit more towards Ayuk and a little bit more towards Christian McCaffrey when Christian McCaffrey came.
McCaffrey's huge. Yeah.
Debo's, supremely talented. I'm not taking anything away from that. But when you look at his numbers in a PPR league, once McCaffrey got there,
he's also not going to have a quarterback for the first 6 games.
He missed 3 games, but once McCaffrey got there, he only had 2 games over 10 points.
Yeah,
and one of them was just 10
that's
points.
the answer.
So Terry McLaurin, on the other hand, if we just take a look at, and even with Michael Pittman was the 27th best wide receiver last year, and he had many quarterback problems, but he had a lot of issues with that as well. And so when you look at where Terry McLaurin was the 14th best wide receiver last year, and he even struggled with getting. He had more games where I would be like, okay, I'm comfortable running Terry McLaurin out there than I am running these other guys.
And if we're going through the Brissett breakdown of what Washington's room looked like, Curtis Samuel was their down the field deep ball guy. And we saw that Cleveland, for their deep field guy, was the Peoples Jones. And Donovan's Peoples-Jones left people a lot disappointed. And in the same way that Samuels will, I believe, in this Washington offense, but Cooper produced. And McLaurin is by far the most talented receiver on the Washington football team. And when I look at it, there's no reason to think that his volume is going to go down. And when he gets the ball, he adds a tremendous amount of value. Of all of the receivers on this board, it's either Terry McLaurin or Chris Godwin are the 2 most athletically gifted on the field. Debo had some great setup stuff. I want to just pause this for a second. I know we both took the Niners to win the West.
I didn't.
You took Seattle. But the Niners aren't as athletically loaded as people think. They just have a really good defense and a scheme. The more I'm thinking about this, I think I might be more with you on the Seattle camp as we're going through this.
Now, here's a dangerous thing too, though, is we're overlooking Amari Cooper. And
I'm not overlooking Amari Cooper. Show me what he did with Watson. Because it wasn't that great.
Now,
Watson didn't play well.
Now, Watson didn't play well, but again, I can't expect him to play well after coming back from being out for that long a period of time. I'm just saying, if I'm looking at a player from this list and I'm looking and saying, okay, where is my best potential for points? Amari Cooper,
3 volume receivers.
Amari Cooper potentially has a quarterback if Deshaun Watson doesn't suck. You believe he's going to suck. Most of America thinks that he's going to
come back. I believe that's totally wishful
mediocre
thinking.
Or whatever. But out of the players listed that are on teams on this list, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin's situations, and Michael Pittman's situation happens to be the best situation.
Well, yeah, there's no one pushing McLaurin or Pittman for catches.
So now
they both have big running games. That's how those teams were built.
Washington has a good running game.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts have a good running game. So you're looking at this list and you're saying, okay, well, what would I be satisfied with as saying, if I had my first 4 picks and I'm looking here and I'm saying, okay, I'm trying to figure out who I want. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. I mean, J.K. Dobbins just jumps out the page
so much
because, again, injury concern. If he's not an injury concern, and we'll know this more through OTAs, and we'll know this more as the offseason continues, is that J.K. Dobbins could potentially jump up in the third, fourth round for most people.
Well,
and I'm being serious with that. If you looked at, if we go back and we look at the players that were presented to us earlier, I would probably assume that a lot of people would take Dobbins over Mixon, would take Dobbins over Pierce, would take Dobbins over
I might even take Dobbins over Etienne, yeah.
I mean, just the way, just the production, and you can talk a little bit about Dobbins or any other player.
Well, my thing with Baltimore is this: where obviously Dobbins is at is they want to come out and be this passing team. That's what Lamar said. That's what they said with their OC after they gave Lamar that giant extension. I don't think that lasts for more than 30 minutes of actual game film when they see that Lamar can't do it. Because he's not an accurate passer. What he is he makes linebackers stay close to the line of scrimmage because they're scared they're going to run at him, and they can throw a decent enough lob into what should be double coverage downfield, but it's single because of the threat of his legs. Well, there's two ways you end this. You either light up Lamar the way that the Steelers do, and then he's afraid to run on you. And by the way, 8 games that he could have played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's only played in 3 of them, which is a fact. The guy doesn't like being hurt. The guy doesn't have heart. So when that all comes to shove, they know they ain't going to be able to throw the ball. When as soon as Huntley's in the game, they only run it. Give it to the guy who's going to get the ball, who looked like he was a healthy and a beast last year at the end of the year. And again, these guys are playing the AFC South and the NFC South. Is there a run defense you are worried about in the AFC South? Because I'm not. Maybe Jacksonville's. Is there a run defense you're worried about in the NFC South? No, absolutely none of them. So therefore, that's half of his schedule. So plus he plays Cleveland twice.
But that's
10 games where I know he's getting 100 yards. This is the thing with the AFC North running backs that I'm so excited with. Now, I'm so biased towards the AFC North running backs.
Here is the only thing that you could say is a knock. There's 2 knocks on J.K. Dobbins. One of the knocks is the injuries.
Yeah.
You cannot, I mean, like I said, he has the potential to go in a higher round, but because those injuries, I think they're going to hold him back.
I think the 4th round's realistic for
him. However, when I take a look to, he's not in the passing game.
No, he's not.
So,
well, they don't have a passing game in Baltimore.
When you're in a PPR league, you want running backs that are also going to have some.
And he does get touchdowns stolen off him from Lamar.
He gets touchdowns stolen by Lamar. He gets touchdowns stolen by Gus Edwards. I mean, will get touchdowns stolen by him from Mark Andrews in the red zone. He'll get touchdowns stolen from him by Odell Beckham. So
he's a yardage guy.
I think a lot of the points that J.K. Dobbins is going to accumulate is going to be through the ground game, and then he's not going to get a lot of touchdowns. And so when I look at this and I say, okay,
almost like a Henry Light.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this and I say, okay, like if I'm waiting on running back right now, J.K. Dobbins is probably not the guy I'm waiting on, but I'm going to have to take him.
Who else are you going to get? That's
what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm going to have to take him. So it's much better to be in a situation right now where you have at least one other running back.
Yeah, you need to take a running back in the first 4 rounds.
Whether you take, Christian McCaffrey or whether you take Josh Jacobs or any of those guys that we've previously mentioned in our other shows, you need at least one running back before you hit this round because you are going to be struggling if J.K. Dobbins is your lead back. I'm not saying
because after him, who's left? We haven't said Gibbs yet. That might be the only one.
I'm not saying that he's going to do you dirty, but I am saying that I would much rather take a chance on a guy like McLaurin or Pittman in this situation than having J.K. Dobbins. Like, I'd rather take a chance at Terry McLaurin or Pittman being my number 1 or number 2 guy than I would it being J.K. Dobbins being my second.
And this is just a difference in the big.
First.
Dobbins has, in my opinion, the highest, with the exception of Hurts, Dobbins has the highest floor of this whole group. But he does not have the highest ceiling. McLaurin could be the highest scorer of this group. Easily. It's that you don't have to squint very hard to see McLaurin gets 100 catches and turns 100 catches into 1,500 yards. I mean, when we looked at how Washington was in the beginning of the year, they were a fly all over the place type team. And again, he's by far their most talented receiver on that roster. You can also say the same thing with Godwin because Godwin's the volume receiver in Tampa. They're not going to be doing anything. They're going to have to throw the ball.
I'm going to stop you right there. They threw the ball 60 times a game last year. and Chris Godwin.
That is true. They did throw it 60 times a game last year. They can't throw it more than that.
They threw the ball 60 times a game last year, and even with injuries, Mike Evans ranked 16th in total points, and Chris Godwin was 26th.
Well, the difference is Evans is the downfield guy. No. Godwin's the
no.
volume guy.
Listen to the reasoning behind this, that you do not want to draft Godwin. You do not want to draft Mike Evans, despite the name. Godwin had 114 points. Let me say it again. 114 points with Tom Brady. And that's despite missing a couple of games. Mike Evans had 148 points with a player that was passing the ball 60 times a game. We are not expecting...
they're not going to get the ball 60 times a game.
We are not...
for 60 plays a game.
We're not expecting Baker Mayfield to throw the ball that much. We're not expecting Cal Trask to throw the ball that much.
No, we're not.
And they were inefficient when they were getting the ball thrown to them.
So realistically, when would you consider Godwin? You think like ninth round value?
I wouldn't. And the reason I say that is let's take a look at the just the targets that they got. Chris Godwin was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th most targeted player.
Ooh, you ain't getting that again.
And he had 118 fantasy points.
That doesn't feel like that adds up right.
If that's not an indictment against Chris Godwin's ability to be efficient, I don't know what
you just sold me, man.
And I'm staying away from every player on the Buccaneers. I don't even care if he's sitting there. If him, McLaurin, Pitts, Pittman, George Kittle, Lamar Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, anybody is sitting there, I am not touching Chris Godwin.
So Tampa's your most don't touch team.
Most don't touch.
Mine's the Raiders, but I see the argument for it. Of course, mine might be Houston. Yeah, it's probably Houston, but I don't think I want anyone from any of those three teams. That's a huge point for Godwin and Evans that most people aren't going to really sit down and think about. They're not going to have the ball for 60 plays a game because Tampa Bay's defense cannot stop the run to save their lives. No. And if you wanted to, you probably could run it on them and put up 21 points whenever you're throwing a pass. That's Baker Mayfield. You got to look back at him. He's going to have had a very angry career. And with the exception of those State Farm commercials, really, what has he had going for him?
And I just want to kind of put this to you too, is that Devonta Smith was what did I say? Chris Godwin was the 10th or 11th. Devonta Smith was 13th
in targets,
in terms of targets, and he put up.
Oh, you're scrolling a while.
159 points.
So essentially 40 extra points, the equivalent of 6 touchdowns, and that's a big deal.
That's what Godwin should have done better. He should have done 40 points better than Devonta Smith.
There ain't 6 extra touchdowns for Tampa to squeeze out, and that just isn't happening. All right, Bob. So rank them for me. How are you looking at this list when we say all said and done? What is your ranking of these guys?
Jalen Hurts is obviously number one out of this for me. I mean, I know he's a quarterback, but this is the you have the question right now of Mahomes, Allen, Hurts at this point in time. You're probably going to see some league mates. There's only 3 of those 3 are the only quarterbacks I would think about drafting here. You would consider Joe Burrow a couple of rounds later. You would consider Justin Fields many rounds later, but and Lamar Jackson probably around this way as well. But Jalen Hurts has got to be the number one player for this group. Followed by, for me, it would be Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, I think, gives you he would make me sleep better at night knowing that I drafted him, even though he's not the sexiest name on the list. I think that I would.
You love high potential guys. I would take Terry. You love because high potential guys win you leagues. They hit.
They do. My third player on this list is Amari Cooper. I am not dead in the water on Deshaun Watson. I could be dead in the water in a couple of months on Deshaun Watson, but he did have great games with Hopkins, he did make Brandon Cooks, look good too. So
Mhm.
I'm not staying away from Amari Cooper if he falls this late in the draft. After that, I would probably put Michael Pittman. Just sheer volume. He's going to get the ball. He's probably going to get the ball at least 8 times a game. That's at least 8 points there.
Mhm.
I think that Pittman could be good for the Colts and helping Anthony Richardson develop. After that, I'm probably taking Kyle Pitts. I don't think you're going to take Kyle Pitts in this round. I don't think Kyle Pitts is going to touch the first 7 rounds, to be honest with you.
People like the name,
but the name will stick out to people. And if he plays, he has, like you said, he's just supremely athletic. After Pitts, I would probably place Dobbins. Just for the fact that I'm not sold on him 100% yet because of the injuries and because of the situation that the Ravens do have. Debo, I'm putting under Dobbins because what I saw from Debo last year is what we're going to get from the San Francisco 49ers this year.
McCaffrey time.
And it's not Debo time. After that, I would put Darren Waller just because I couldn't knowing there's both injury concerns for both of these tight ends in this grouping here. I feel like Kyle Pitts is a better upside than Darren.
Oh, he's a better football player when they're
Waller
healthy. There's no doubt about that.
But they're both very similar offenses. So, yeah, so that's where that goes. And then I'm gonna put Chris Godwin or then I'm gonna put DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins will fly up this board higher.
Depends on where he goes.
Depending on where he goes and when he goes. So you could be drafting right now and you could be getting DeAndre Hopkins probably in the 10th round, maybe in the 6th round, maybe in the 7th round.
Well, let me give you two possible spots.
By August, if he goes to
say he goes to Tennessee, they need a receiver.
Yeah, say he goes to Tennessee, he's probably a firm 3rd rounder.
And what if he goes to LA Rams?
If he goes to the Rams, same situation with Stafford. So you could see him as 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, somewhere in there, because he showed. I mean, just going to find him right now on this,
he was hurt a lot last year. Plus, he got suspended at the beginning of the year.
He was definitely hurt a lot, and he was suspended. Marquise Brown was hurt. So you look, and he played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, and he accumulated 87 points.
That's less than 10 a game.
But that's also with an inefficient Kyler Murray.
Oh, that's also what they went through that rotisserie chicken at the end of that year.
Also with Colt McCoy.
And it's someone else after that, too.
Let me just say, that's also only about 30 points less than Chris Godwin.
Who played all year.
Wow. So, and he had
Godwin's just got to be taken off boards.
And he had the best quarterback of his career, in the last couple of years. And
so
when I look at this and I say, okay, DeAndre Hopkins, can you 87? He had 87 points. So can you do more?
It'd be dangerous with him in Tennessee. I would love him to go to Tennessee. I don't want him to go to Cleveland.
I mean,
but I can see why he would want to go to Cleveland.
You look at it and you say, if he gets the right quarterback or the right situation, I mean, you could see him as getting, say he gets 164 points, say you double that total from last year. Well, now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, well, I'm drafting him. If I look at the numbers, I'm drafting him in where I'm seeing Devonta Smith, where I'm seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown. So
that's great numbers.
So
that's great. That's probably worth the risk when we're talking about the 5th round.
So you look at
upside potential.
You look at it and you say, okay, if I have the opportunity to take upside, if I have the opportunity and I've already solidified my roster, DeAndre Hopkins.
That's why you need a running back early.
But we're gonna know. by
August for sure.
Where DeAndre Hopkins floating around at. And I'm putting Chris Godwin last in this list because I don't think he's draftable.
And that's fair enough. So for me, I'm going to start with the high floor in Hurts because Hurts has the best floor of all these guys. There's no way around it. Then comes Dobbins. I love his floor. Terry McLaurin to me, he's the best receiver on his team. He's a volume guy. He can give you a lot after it. I love Terry McLaurin's game. I am going to go Hopkins next because, quite frankly, when it's all said and done, Hopkins ain't going to be in this territory when it's said and done. Mm-hmm. Hopkins has potential when he plays to give you top flight production. Mm-hmm. Problem is he hasn't given you a full season in 3 years. And is he going to just help you make the playoffs, or is he going to help you in the playoffs? And that is a real concern with Hopkins. I then would put Pittman because I do like Pittman's situation. I like Pittman's situation a lot. And because of the situation, next comes Waller. Waller is the best pass catcher on the Giants. Granted, their pass is a distant second in what they're trying to do. But if you get a good play action going, the tight end's the one who can exploit it the best. And I think that Waller has a very good chance of leading the team in touchdown receptions, possibly receptions overall. So I like what Waller brings to the table there. And it's a better quarterback scheme fit for what Waller did than what Carr did. He's not as good of a vertical runner as someone like Pitts is. Mm-hmm. And then we get down to the last section of this. Debo, Godwin, we already said is undraftable, so he's not going to be here. So it's between Debo, Pitts, and Cooper for me. I don't believe Watson's coming back. You either like football or you don't. And the bottom line is that I'm getting very much Michael Thomas vibes from him. And Kyler Murray's in the same category. I'm not saying he's playing Call of Duty every day, but I'm also not saying that he loves this game as much as anyone else. So as a result, I think Cooper suffers immensely from that. And my back three in worst is going to be Godwin, Cooper, and Debo. And then Pitts just kind of is there because the other two aren't doable. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a sad ending point, but, for a group that has names in it, and that's what this group really is. This is a group of names. It's the ones that are the least name-worthy are the ones I think I'm most excited about. Mm-hmm. McLaurin, Hurts, and Dobbin. Give me them, call it a day. So, hey, team players, if you haven't already, click subscribe. Keep watching our fantasy content. And we will be doing a best ball league, probably multiple of them, depending on how many people are interested. And we're going to be doing it on FanDuel. So email us if you're interested, and we'll hook something up.